February 22nd, 22, meeting of the Boyertown Area School Board. First, I'd like to start out by bringing with the call to order.
Mr. Pinarello.
Here.
Mr. Updegrove.
Here.
Mr. Zawada.
Here.
Mrs. Scott.
Here.
Ms. Deeroff.
Present.
Mr. Hemingway.
Here.
Mrs. Hogan.
Present.
Ms. Nyman.
Here.
Mr. Brophy.
Here.
All present.
Okay. Let's move on now to the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any previous executive announcements?
You made them announcements last time.
Yeah, we have none, right?
Nope.
Okay, none for that. Now we're going to move to public comment period number 1. There is one person signed up for this, so on behalf of the school board director, the Board of School Directors, I would like to welcome you to this meeting. We welcome your attendance and input from the stakeholders to assist us in making recommendations and decisions related to the Boyertown Area School District. The procedures and rules for public participation are detailed in the BSD Board Policy 006. This document is available at the meeting and on the BASD website. Participants properly registered on the sign-up sheet will be recognized by the presiding officer. Public comment period number 1 is limited to topics on tonight's agenda. Participants must preface their comments by announcing their name, address, and group affiliation if that's appropriate. All statements, inquiries, and comments shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually, administrative team members individually, school employees, or members of the public individually. Note that we value and will not compromise the privacy of our students and staff. Please see us outside the realm of public meeting if you have a concern about an individual or a staff member. If your public comment includes a question, Mrs. Torsha or a member of her staff will be in contact with you to confirm your question and provide you with information. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comment periods are limited to 30 minutes. Individuals may indicate a desire to speak a second time if there is time left in the 30-minute period. Finally, note that we record our board meeting and committee meetings and we post them on YouTube with a link to our website. We request that if you wish to take pictures and record the meeting yourself, do so in a non-disruptive and discreet manner and use those materials respectfully and responsibly. For period number 1, I'll call on Donahue Savage.
Donahue Savage from Upper Frederick Township on the topic of your board meeting calendar for the upcoming school year. Since returning to your meetings in October, I'm a bit unclear about the distinction between the committee of the whole meetings and the voting meetings. I know that in theory, committee of the whole is intended for discussion, for committee work to get done, and generally not a voting meeting. However, in practice, I'm seeing no distinction between these meetings and the voting meetings, except that one has 2 public comment periods and the other only has 1. I've only seen 1 example of committee work or discussion at the committee of the whole meetings, and I haven't seen any standing committee meetings scheduled. So I'm wondering how your responsibilities regarding policy, finance, facilities, student services, technologies, etc. is getting done. Moreover, the committee of the whole meetings seem to have voting items on a regular basis regardless of urgency. I understand that the BASD Policy 6 allows for voting items at those meetings, but but if there's no distinction between a regular voting meeting and a committee of the whole meeting, aren't you in effect just finding a disingenuous way to take a public comment period away? This contributes to that bad perception issue that I mentioned at the last meeting. I'd also like to ask you to consider meeting locations. You have a lot of larger venues than the boardroom, and you should try to anticipate public attendance and move the meetings to larger venues when appropriate. Also, in the past, we held one meeting each month at each of our schools. Now that the pandemic is easing, you might consider it. It really helped us when I was on the board to connect with the school communities and see firsthand what is happening at the schools. Finally, I've been a bit surprised at what ends up on the agendas. For example, at the last committee of the whole meeting, the chair of the Census Committee indicated that the proposal was nearly ready for presentation to the board, yet it is not on the agenda tonight. I'm wondering why not. I recall from our last round of this 10 years ago that it took about 9 months from the time the board submitted the proposal to the court until it made its way to the judge's docket. So please don't delay so far such that equalization would not be ready in time to apply the change to our next school board election. Again, perception is reality. Thank you for the time speaking tonight.
We have one? Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on. The next would be approval of the February 8th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
Hogan moves. Darrow seconds.
Okay. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Panarello,
Yes.
Mr. Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Is that what you-
All right, Senior Spotlight. Tonight, we are pleased to celebrate two members of the class of 2022. Congratulations to Isaiah Baez, and congratulations also to Krista Campbell. Isaiah was nominated by Mrs. Ann Foster, who had this to say about him. I have known Isaiah for his entire high school career, and what a gem of a student. He has grown and matured over these 4 years, but the kind-hearted, caring person remains. Isaiah is supportive of his peers, will lend a hand when needed, and works very hard at both BASH and BCTC. Whenever he sees me in the halls, he is the first to say hello. Isaiah attends BCTC for IT networking, receiving dual enrollment credits through RAC, and has a goal of pursuing post-secondary education in this field. I will miss Isaiah when he graduates, but wish him a most successful career and happy life. Next, Mrs. Tara Phillips nominated Krista Campbell. She says, last semester was my very first semester teaching in Boyertown School District. I had the pleasure of having Krista as a student in my first group of students. Krista was in 2 of my classes, Culinary Essentials and Cuisine of the Americas. She is an amazing student. Krista works very hard and is a conscientious student. She has already secured herself a culinary school to attend after graduation. Hooray. This is such an accomplishment. Krista will do well in the culinary industry. Congratulations to both of you. Enjoy your senior year. Congratulations. Do you have anything to add since you're here?
It was a fun class. I'm excited to go to culinary school, and she was a really big support. I did enjoy having her as a teacher.
That's wonderful.
Did you bring any samples tonight?
We need him in the car.
I have a lot of people lining up for free samples.
Where are you? Oh, yeah, right here, I'm there.
So you gotta wait in line.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, of course, thank you.
Student representative report.
Good evening, board and community members. I'm glad to be with you all tonight to focus on Boyertown events and fundraisers happening this month.
First, I would like to go over data from the Student Leader Luncheon. To remind our community members, the topic of the luncheon was Boyertown Area Senior High's quality of preparation for life after high school. We had gotten a lot of great feedback from the students during this meeting. We had asked them a series of questions about Boyertown's career-oriented activities and different tech opportunities. Overall, the students spoke positively of the activities students completed for their career portfolios. They expressed that EverFi taught them valuable life skills and smart futures as a valuable tool tool to discover what career fits their personality. Then we focused on Boyertown's access to tech programs and agreed that a mandatory tour of the BCTC facilities would be beneficial. Students expressed that a student's freshman year is full of presentations, but an in-person tour of technology centers would help them better structure their high school schedule. Also, students spoke about the most beneficial classes they have taken, and many agreed that AP and DE courses are rigorous, interesting courses. Also, a few students spoke highly about Mr. Cherkasky's telecom classes and the impact that class specifically has made on graduating students. Finally, we inquired about the students' plans after high school, and the majority of the group were planning to attend a four-year university. Olivia and I sincerely appreciate having an honest conversation with the students, and we hope community members can use this information to improve and understand BASH's post-secondary preparation.
Also, the class of 2023 has a lot of exciting things happening right now. One of the traditions that Boyertown School District is providing students with the opportunity to design their class flag. Students from the class of 2023 can submit a design of their own, and the winner of the contest will receive a free prom ticket. In addition, the Future Business Leaders of America Club sold wooden roses for Valentine's Day this past week. Happily, FBLA had run out of roses. They sold over 1,000 this year. That's a new record for them. Students were enjoying spreading their love to their friends and instructors. With winter sports season coming to a close, I'd like to recognize our boys and girls basketball teams, swimming teams, cheer teams, and winter track teams for an amazing season. Go Bears.
In addition, junior prom is on. BASH is hosting a junior prom on Friday, March 25th. It's a great time to get dressed up with your friends and have some fun. A lot of the students are excited to go, and because of the new health and safety plans, we are now allowing guest passes and no masks at the dance.
Thank you all for your time and attention. We look forward to the remainder of the meeting and have a great night.
So we're going to put Sarah there on the spot a little bit because Sarah was recently nominated as Senior of the Year. So why don't you speak to that a little bit for us? Congratulations.
Yes, I got a call from the mayor on Monday, I believe, letting me know that I was nominated as Senior of the Year. So there's going to be a presentation, I believe, in April, I think an editorial in the newspaper. So yeah, really, really excited about it. Really fortunate that I got the opportunity to be nominated as that, and thankful for all the opportunities that I have as well to be nominated. So thank you.
Report yet, nothing to report.
All right, we'll move right on to the superintendent's report under the itemized agenda. So this evening, we will be looking for the approval for the Board of School Directors to approve the 2022-2023 Board of School Directors meeting calendar as presented.
Daryl moves. Hogan seconds.
Secretary's report.
Which one did you just
Oh,
do?
I did superintendent.
Yeah.
Superintendent.
Did we skip you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we got to go
We'll
back to the
just have go back.
secretary's report.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Can we take
Yes.
this
For,
one?
Yeah.
on the itemized one?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
finish that and we can
We'll-
go back. Yep.
Hogan and Daryl?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I was disappointed to see Thursdays because we were always told to keep Tuesdays open. I already have things planned on Thursdays. I don't know about everybody else's schedule, but my Thursdays are already booked. So we've always been told Tuesdays. I have no problem with Tuesdays, but I do have problems now going to a Thursday to hold for tentative meetings.
This was just really recopied from last year, so that's why the Thursdays are on there. So it would be up to the board to change those. I know that, when typically at this time of year, Ms. Denicola may be asking for an additional finance committee meeting. Wouldn't be a voting meeting, it would be more of a presentation, I would believe. But it would be up to the board to want to change those Thursdays.
Okay, what would be the option on the days, Wednesdays, Fridays, Monday? What are we looking at?
The Tuesdays in between the committee meeting and the voting meeting.
Okay, are there enough Tuesdays to fit that?
There's
We could do
typically
that?
2 additional. Mhm.
All right, would that be a satisfactory to move those in between Tuesdays as a day?
Tuesdays are fine with me.
Anyone else as to,
I agree with that.
You
I
agree?
would rather just be on Tuesdays, that's when we're told, the day that we're told to keep open. If we have an emergency, we can get here probably, but I think Tuesdays.
all right, we'll move those can we do that, Mrs. Denical? We can move them from Thursday to the in-between Tuesdays. Okay, that's fine.
So whoever made that motion has to modify that motion, I believe.
Oh, Mrs. Deeroff?
Well, what happens to the Thursdays that we already have? We were never, I don't think the new board members were told to save Tuesdays. I never heard it said. And what about the Thursdays that we already have on there for this year?
I believe those Thursdays are what we're moving, correct?
Yeah, we would be moving the Thursday, well, for the remainder of this year, yes. It would be the start of this year, Mrs. Deeroff, from March on through this year, through 2023. Because it is the 2022-2023 calendar.
What other days are we affecting besides just the
Well, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. You are correct. It does not go into effect until July of 2022.
That's what I
I'm
thought.
sorry. 2022, 2023.
I mean, why
I
is
get
it
my
being
school
brought
year
up
and my
now
calendar year
instead of-
mixed up. So.
Why is it being brought up now instead of when we had the other calendar approved? Something's not right.
We can certainly, should we need additional meetings, we can put it out to the board. Even though we have the Thursdays reserved under the calendar that we're operating on, we can, certainly bring it to the board.
So what are you saying? We're not changing the calendar that we were presented?
The calendar that you presented begins July 2022 and goes through June 2023. So it's being requested that those Thursdays be removed and saved for to be moved to other Tuesdays. And that would be we have and typically again they're in the January, February, March, April, May months of the year due to the budget. So we can move the 12th to the well, we're past there. Moving into March, we would move March the 16th to the 21st or the 7th, and we move the Thursday, April 13th to either the 4th or the 18th, and in May, the 11th to either the 2nd or the 16th.
okay, would that clear Thursdays out?
That would clear Thursdays out beginning July 2022, but right now you have March, April, May, that you may need an additional meeting. At that time, we could come back to the board and say that a meeting is needed, and we can just, vote to where you want that meeting,
Just
not
as-
necessarily on a Thursday.
Just as long as we do it within, 24 hours advance, 48 hours advance?
Yes, in time to be able to
Get out to the
advertise.
public, okay, okay. Does that fit? So,
Thank you. I just had a quick, I guess, question. My thought was, I know most, from memory last year, if we had to have a Thursday meeting, it was generally due to finance during budget season. And then I was kind of thinking as everyone was talking that, as Mrs. Denicola works generally, Monday to Friday are her working hours, I wouldn't want to, put her squeeze on her by moving meetings to a Tuesday, as long as she feels like she would have enough prep time. I didn't know if that's maybe why the meetings were on Thursdays.
The other reason why is that if there is something that it needs to be voted on and there was not enough discussion and it may need to be voted on the following week, we extended that meeting out to that Thursday of that same week. So again, I would, take Mrs. Denicola's recommendation as to when she believes that she would need an additional meeting.
And we would notify the board well in advance if we felt we needed an additional meeting. Tuesdays, Thursdays, it makes no difference.
Jim?
yes.
So I'm confused. So we have a motion on the floor, a first and a second to take a vote on the calendar as presented. Can we do that?
We would have to do that with the modifications.
I'm not interested in the modification. So as of now, we have a motion and a second. I'd like to call for a vote.
So the vote would be to keep the calendar as is and vote on it as is with no modifications. Okay?
Mr. Panarello,
Yes.
Mr. Updegrove,
I'm gonna abstain from that vote, but I don't like that idea of having that Thursday instead of making it Tuesdays.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
No.
Could we go, do you want me to go back?
So, yeah, Mr. Upgrove, if you don't want it, if you want to do, just say no. Otherwise, an abstain goes to a no anyway.
No.
Mrs. Scott,
No.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
No.
Mr. Brophy.
No.
Motion carries 5 yes, 4 no.
So that means the calendar stays as is.
But Jim,
Yes, Mr. Herman.
but there's always flexibility. If Mr. Danicola requests a meeting with due notice, we can do that too.
Yeah, that's anytime. We can do that anytime. Anytime there's a request for a meeting, we just have to make sure we advertise it in the proper time. I think it's what, 48 hours or 24 hours? I'm forgetting which one it is. 48 hours.
Is this the most amount of time
Yeah. To advertise, so it's out there. We can always call for an extra meeting, yes.
Okay, so duly noted. I think she would know that there are those on the board that would, if need be, a Tuesday would have preference, but it's nice to have that Thursday definite on the calendar for us to plan. But, you know, in respect for those who did vote the other way, Tuesday would be, you know, we gotta be fair. So what would be preferred by some?
I apologize, we skipped the secretary's report, and we do have something there. So, Mrs. Denicola.
The Berks County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors approved the entity's 2022-23 mandated school district services budget in the sum of $1,943,946. Boyertown Area School District's projected cost for next school year is $101,161.19. This amount represents no increase over our 2021-22 contribution. Legislative Act 102 of 1970 mandates the BCIU services to Berks County school districts. Those programs and services considered as mandated are management services, school services, curriculum development and instructional improvement, continuing professional education services, pupil personnel services, and educational technical services. Administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approve the BCIU 2022-23 budget as presented.
Hogan motions.
Zawada seconds.
Roll call.
Mr. Panarello,
Yes.
Mr. Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, is there a solicitor's report?
There is no solicitor's report.
Thank you.
All right, back to the superintendent's report under the itemized agenda. I apologize. Next, we have personnel, and I'm looking for the Board of School Directors to approve the personnel agenda item as presented.
Hogan motions.
Darrow seconds.
Roll call.
Mr. Panarello,
Yes.
Mr. Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That completes my report.
Okay, we'll move to public comment period number 2. There are people signed up for this, so I will go through the list. On behalf of the school board directors, thank you. I would like to welcome you to this meeting. We welcome your attendance and input from the stakeholders to assist us in making recommendations and decisions related to the Boyertown Area School District. The procedures and rules, is that more? Okay. The procedures and rules for public participation are detailed in the BSID Board Policy 006. This document is available at the meeting and on the BSID website. Participants properly registered on the sign-up sheet will be recognized by the presiding officer. Public comment period number 2 is for those persons wishing to discuss an item not appearing on the evening's agenda. Participants must preface their comments by announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation if it is appropriate. All statements, inquiries, or comments shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually, administrative team members individually, school employees, or the members of the public individually. Note that we value and will not compromise our privacy of our students and staff. Please see us outside the realm of the public meeting if you have a concern about an individual staff member or student. If your public comment includes a question, Mrs. Torsha or a member of her staff will be in contact with you to confirm your question and provide you with information. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and the comment periods are limited to 30 minutes. Finally, note that we do record our board and committee meetings, and we post them on YouTube and a link to our website. We request that if you do wish to take pictures or record the meeting itself, you do so in a non-disruptive and discreet manner, and use those materials respectfully and responsibly. For period number 2, first person signed up is Donahue Savage.
Hi again, Donahue Savage, Upper Frederick Township. Tonight is about board effectiveness and recognizing and overcoming bias. I'd like to use my allotted 3 minutes this evening to use my background as a statistician, mathematician, and researcher to give you some food for thought about bias. That bias that might be inherent to what you hear from your community, and even the biases that you bring to the boardroom many times unconsciously. Bias is not inherently bad. It is human nature. We are wired to do it, especially when issues are complex or when we are passionate about them. But it is important that we recognize bias and try to challenge our assumptions to make sure we're making good decisions. There are many types of bias, and I'll send you an article outlining some common types. But here I'll share some examples of bias that I've seen in this boardroom recently, in no particular order. What you've been hearing from the public in this boardroom about the health and safety plan is biased, because those people most concerned about the risks associated with COVID are less likely to attend these meetings, especially when it is not possible to socially distance. So things you can do in the future, recognize that bias, and make sure that when seeking and considering public input in the future, you consciously consider how best to get feedback from all perspectives. Confirmation bias is my favorite, and I propose that we are all guilty as charged. We're naturally wired to listen more often to information that confirms our existing beliefs. Scientists believe this happens because it helps simplify issues for us and it protects our self-esteem. We have been especially predisposed to this bias during the COVID pandemic because it is such a complex and novel experience. Things you can do? It takes effort, but it's important that we gather information from a variety of sources and that we consciously look for information that might contradict our point of view. You might find it interesting to look up scientific literature reviews, which is a methodology used by scientists, including public health professionals, to ensure that they do a thorough and unbiased analysis of existing data. This methodology is far too complex for most of us, but it emphasizes the importance of trusting and respecting the advice of experts in their field. The availability heuristic bias is the tendency to over or underestimate the probability of something occurring based on anecdotal evidence or our own personal experience. This mental shortcut helps us
30
assess
seconds.
risk when it's difficult to do. Again, this has been particularly applicable to the COVID pandemic, where all of us have been affected in different ways, often depending on the number of vulnerable people around us. What you can do? Recognize this bias in yourself and others and do research to establish more fact-based data. I'm also recommending a book called Factfulness by Hans Rosling, and I'll send you more information on that by email. Okay, thank you.
Next will be John Amy. Okay, it appears John Amy is not here, so we'll move on. There were the only two people signed up for speaking, so we'll move on to board comments. We'll start from
Okay, I have several things. One, out in the public and they want to come, but they don't want to be put out in the vestibule where they can't hear, or in the back room where they can't hear. They want to be with us and see us. So I don't know if we need to do a vote on that or what we need to do. I'd also like to make a recommendation, and maybe it's something that we can put on the agenda for another time. People are always commenting that we don't answer questions, so maybe at the second comment period, we could open up to one person and a different person every time, ask us a question, and we try to answer it, or if we can't answer it honestly, we come back to them at another week and do it then. So I would like to have that put on too. Third thing, I have been informed of an email or a board member using their name and the Boyertown area school district. You need to get it correct because I don't want to be wrong. BASD school board director. I have a problem with that because when they're speaking as a Boyertown area school director, they're speaking about all of us. And I think this happened prior with other people, and they were told they were not allowed to do that. So I would like to have something done about that.
send the specifics, and we'll have a discussion on that.
Okay.
Mr. Sultanic, what is the actual policy policy outlook on that?
Are you speaking to the policy about a board member writing an email that may be confused as to whether or not the board member is speaking on behalf of the board versus themselves individually? Is that what you're speaking to?
I'm not sure what policy, but I know this has happened before.
It's made by the entire school board to make clear that they're only speaking on behalf of themselves as an individual and not on behalf of the Boyertown School Board. But it is not something that we, to the best of my knowledge, ever prohibited anybody. And we've made that request of certain board members in the past.
Do we have to send out, in order to do that, do we have to send out something formally to all the school board members to make that request?
Sorry, I don't believe we need to send anything out formally to anybody. I think this is more of a collegial responsibility on the behalf of board members on how they speak to the rest of the world. And we hope that individuals who are espousing certain viewpoints, that they make it clear that they're espousing the viewpoints on their own personal basis, because often members of the community get confused about your respective roles. But I don't believe we need to do an announcement. Alternatively, does have a code of ethics and responsibilities that was recommended by PSBA. There's nothing to prevent us from amending that down the road to address this as an issue so that as a matter of collegial responsibility of board members, we don't confuse this issue.
Okay, Mrs. Hogan?
Do you mind if I just take a moment to address this? Because I appreciate it, thank you. So, I believe that Mrs. Nyman is speaking about my Facebook posts. My Facebook posts are on a page that says, it says Lisa Hogan, BASD School Board Director, I believe. It is clear that all of these statements are my opinions. Most of them are informational. Very few of them are actually even my opinion. And there is also, in the About section, it says that these are my opinions and they do not reflect the opinions of the school board. So I don't know if Mrs. Nyman has seen this for herself or if she is just misinformed or confused, but I just wanted to clarify that for her. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess the question I would have is the disclaimer, I'll call it a disclaimer, that's what it is. The disclaimer in a place that's obvious that you would pick up when you started to read it, or is it hidden away or inadvertently hidden away?
No, so it's in the About Me section, but it is clear, as I don't know if you use Facebook, but it's, okay. So it's clear, it says Lisa Hogan, BASD School Board Director, from my memory, but it is clear that it is me speaking, and it is me speaking as myself, not for anyone else.
Does it actually say that somewhere, this is my opinion?
It does under the, no, yeah, it does under the About Me section, it does. But I mean, regardless, it's clear that it is me sharing creating my posts and sharing them as myself.
Is it possible to put that on the top of the page where you're actually sharing the posts? I don't know if that's possible or not.
I don't know if it is possible to put it at the top of the page, but it is, like I said, in the About Me section. And you know, I think that when we try to, you know, infringe upon people's right to speak, that becomes an issue. I'm clearly speaking as myself, sharing opinions or just, like I said, informational posts. It is clear on every post at the top, it would say Lisa Hogan, BASD School Board Director. So it's not, you know, it doesn't say the school board of Boyertown. It's clear that it is me. It's set up in the same ways that, you know, any other public official would set up their Facebook page.
Yeah, it's not in the purview of this board, at least in my mind, to police Facebook pages. I would only ask that people be careful as to make sure that it's their opinion, they're showing is their opinions. I know some posts in the past have made that clear on their pages. I don't read them, so I can't actually tell you how clear they were, but it would probably behoove every one of us to make sure that when we put stuff out there, we make sure that it's known this is our opinion. As in some cases as a person, not even as a board member. So it's just something for us to look at.
And I would say, I think any time I've shared my opinion, I say this is my opinion. When I share informational posts, they're informational. They're not my opinions. So obviously I'm not going to disclaim that, but you know.
Mrs. Nyman? Mr. Updegrove? Mrs. Hogan, anything further?
Yeah, so I just wanted to congratulate all the students in our senior spotlight. I wanted to thank Sarah and Olivia for their report tonight. Always wonderful. Congratulations again to Sarah for winning Senior of the Year. So amazing. And then I just wanted to kind of highlight and let everyone know that I sent some pretty important documents from the BCIU out. If you all could just give them a look, that would be appreciated. And that, you know, I attended my first COLA meeting today, or this morning, which was really informative. And if anybody has any questions about any of that, just shoot me an email. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Mrs. Scott?
I'd like to congratulate the senior Sarah for your award. That's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations, and to both of you, thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. I always love to see the kids here, so thank you.
Mrs. Deeroff?
Nothing this evening.
Zawala?
Wow. No, I wanted to thank Isaiah and Krista for speaking, or their teachers giving credits. I also like to congratulate Sarah on your, it's quite an honor. And Olivia, we look forward to working with you. My next, and I hope if you guys need any help for the junior prom, please let us know, because we'll be looking forward to having you guys having a great time, because you deserved it after the last couple of years. My next question is real quick it's probably to Mr. Sultanic. It has to do with Right to Knows about GoFundMe pages. Is that something that an individual can look into, or is that something that's not public knowledge?
Are you suggesting a GoFundMe page that is being pursued by an individual school board member or the school board itself? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, there's been a couple pages put out there for financing certain different things, and those did not come to attrition. And I was wondering if that money was sitting there or if it was being pushed somewhere else. And I didn't know if there was a procedure that we as a school board or as an individual could look into that.
I am not aware of any procedure that gives us the right to find out the outcome of the GoFundMe page. And I'm just speaking off the top of my head right now. Sorry about that. The charitable solicitation requirements of Pennsylvania may come into play if somebody is doing an inappropriate legal fundraising. And I think the Department of State Bureau of Charitable Solicitations can investigate those kinds of claims. And secondly, on Facebook itself, if you believe something is misleading or inappropriate, you can report to Facebook and request that they launch an investigation on that issue. But I will tell you, in representing many school districts, I have never addressed a specific complaint about a Facebook page other than a situation where a member of the community was appropriating a district's trademark or mark and using the same logo used by the school district in an attempt to confuse the general public as to who the statements were being made, but never with respect to a GoFundMe page. That doesn't mean it couldn't be done, but I believe if monies are being raised for an improper purpose, we could file a complaint with the Department of State Bureau of Charitable Solicitations, or alternatively, file a Facebook complaint. But that's something that would have to be authorized by the board and not the act of an individual.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Zawada, you done? Okay. Mr. Panarello?
I wanted to congratulate Sarah for being nominated for senior year, and thank Olivia and Sarah for coming out. I thought it was very insightful, their presentation tonight, and I continue to keep doing it.
Thank you.
Mr. Hemingway?
Yeah, I'd like to just congratulate the TSA students on their projects. Just a quick shout out to my daughter. She did get first place. She goes to East, so I'm proud of all of our students. I did hear today, though, I don't believe they're traveling. I think it's going to be for middle school. It's going to be virtual. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed about that. I'm sure most of the students are. I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that, but I'm sure we'll see what the virtual angle brings to them, and I'm sure they'll all do great. But I just wanted to say congratulations to all our TSA students.
Okay, again, congratulations, Sarah. So what's next? Where do you go from here?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to school, but I will let you all know when I figure it out. So.
Once again, congratulations. Really, really, really big achievement.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I guess next would be update meeting dates.
Well, before I go to the upcoming meeting dates, I did want to recognize a beloved member of our community that recently passed, Donald Heil. I didn't personally know him, but from reading his obituary, he left quite an impact in the Boyertown Area School District. He's a respected and much-loved educator. Donald Heil had passed away February 1st at age 93. But he began his, he went to Penn State University, and he eventually showed up here in Boyertown teaching 5th and 6th grade at Earl Elementary in 1960. He was appointed as the elementary school principal for Earl, Valley Congo, and Bechtelsville. Quite a lot of responsibility there. And Colebrookdale Elementary. During his tenure, he oversaw the building of New Washington Elementary, which opened its doors in 1964. He retired in 1985 as principal at Colebrookdale and Pine Forge Elementary. And someone had brought this to my attention, and I thought that he was certainly someone worthy of recognizing during our board meeting. So our thoughts and prayers to the family. I know that his passing was at the beginning of the month, but it was just brought to my attention recently. So I just wanted to bring that forward. Our meetings that we have scheduled are March 8th, which is a committee meeting, March 22nd, our school board directors, April 7th, and April 26th. I know that Mr. Brophy has asked me to reach out to the elementary schools to see if there are things that are occurring in those buildings so that we could start to schedule our meetings again periodically in a building where it gives the principal and their students an opportunity to showcase something that they are working on. So we are working on that. That completes our upcoming meetings.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
You're up, moves.
Okay, got it. Adjourn.